All right, here earlier this week, you heard the Supreme Court heard arguments on whether or not Donald Trump can place tariffs on foreign countries. I actually heard one of the justices ask, well, how would you return the money? As if that's an option. It is completely remarkable. Ilya Shapiro is a senior fellow and director of constitutional studies at the Manhattan Institute. He is in the belly of the beast today in D.C. Ilya, thank you for being here.
Good to be with you.
All right, let's talk about this. You listened to the oral arguments. Look, I don't think that this is even a close call, but, you know, I'm just a guy out here in the middle of the country watching. It seems to me the president has to have the ability to issue tariffs. It's always been that way, from my understanding. Did I miss a chapter somewhere?
Well, the devil is in the details. It's what kind of tariffs, for what reason, and this IEEPA, as it's called, the statute, the International Economic Emergency Prevention Act, might not give that broad swath to levy any kind of tariff whenever the president wants. And the justices really struggled to find a textual justification in that pretty broad, vague law for the kind of tariffs that we've seen. And several justices were concerned that if there was justification in the law, then the law itself might not be constitutional.
Well, here's the problem with that. We've seen results. We have seen results with better trade deals with the EU. Donald Trump just made a deal with the Chinese, deals with Vietnam, South Korea, elsewhere, Japan, investments coming into the United States. Look, a lot of people do not like the tariffs, but from where I'm sitting, it seems to have been a good bit of leverage. If you take that leverage away from Donald Trump, we will be, as he says, I think, defenseless because he won't be able to do anything. And he'll never get an agreement out of this Democratic minority in the United States Senate. You know, reading tea leaves at the Supreme Court's a dangerous pastime, but what are your thoughts? Which way does it go?
Yeah, well, I mean, those arguments may or may not be right, but you know, whether it's strategically good or the leverage point, what have you, is not relevant to the legal questions at issue. But I have good news, regardless of what the court does. I think it's more likely than not they will block the tariffs. But as Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, said, there are other ways of levying tariffs. They just have to be more targeted, more focused. You know, national security for China, retaliation against Europe, different things that indeed, as you said at the outset, presidents for a long time have had the authority under different provisions to levy. The issue here is that, as I said, this IEEPA statute has never been used in this way, and that's really what I think a majority of the court was struggling with.
So let me be clear then. Broad-based, broad-brushed tariffs, you think probably going to get rejected, but targeted tariffs using other things, national security, obviously an issue with China that steals intellectual property, has spies on the ground here as we do there and everything else. Obviously competitive, and they play dirty because they're at war with us, whether we realize it or not. It's an asymmetrical war on a variety of fronts, be it economic being the most important. So if they are targeted tariffs and have specific reasoning, then that would pass muster, is what you're saying, at least your guess.
That's right. That's right. And certain kinds of tariffs might not be able to be levied as a basis for an emergency. For example, the fact that we have a trade deficit that's ongoing might not be an emergency. All of these different types of considerations. For example, President George W. Bush levied steel tariffs because that was a strategic industry that was under fire, he said. And you know, any kind, I don't recall whether there were legal challenges, but they didn't get very far. So yeah, there are a lot of tools in the toolkit. But like I said, based on how argument went, based on how most legal pundits are looking at this, it's more likely than not that this does not survive the court for reasons that might be fractured. There might not be agreement among the justices exactly why, but that's getting into the legal weeds.
So here would be my question. Ilya. One of the things that Donald Trump wants when it's all said and done are 10% base tariffs globally. And that's pretty much, he pretty much has made that clear. Would that pass muster or not?
Again, it depends on which statutory authorities are used. It would be on cleaner ground if you could get something like that through Congress. But it's not the case. I don't think you'd get any votes at all at the court for saying the president can levy any amount of tariff for any reason on any country at any time at all. So there has to be a limiting principle. as lawyers call it.
Yeah.
So it just depends. And as you said, there's leverage with all of these things. So you could have a negotiated regime.
I don't know if you could get a lunch break through in bipartisan fashion in the Congress today. Honestly, I mean, you look at this government shutdown, this clean resolution that the Democrats have rejected, 14, 15 times now, votes to pay SNAP benefits and military paychecks. No. TSA, no. Flight controllers, no. Air traffic controllers, no. It's a difficult set of circumstances. I'll give you the last word.
It always is legislatively, and this case has major political and economic impact. Nobody is disputing that, and that's partly why the justices are skeptical that you could hang something so important, so big. That's called the major question. The lawyers say on the vague language of this 50-year-old statute. So that's just the way that this works.
How fast will we get an answer?
By Christmas, I'm guessing. And what the court might do is pair a win for the president in removing the heads of independent agencies with a loss in this tariff case. That's coming up, going to be argued in a few weeks.
There you go. Federal Trump did rule that Trump has to fund SNAP by today. We'll see how that, these federal judges, apparently the Supreme Court saying district judges can't do these things, had no impact whatsoever. That'll end up back in the Supreme Court. Yeah, great conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so broad-based tariffs, he thinks probably not. We'll have to see what happens before Christmas. We'll see how it plays out. It's a free speech, free-for-all Friday. I've got some callers on the line. Mike will be up next from Virginia. 877-310-9966. What do you think about tariffs? What do you think about the filibuster? What do you think about the government shutdown? Let's talk about it, America. It is the Steve Gruber Show.